Good morning. Welcome. We're going to take a pregnant pause here for a couple of minutes to let people roll in this morning. Glad that you were able to make it. I know for these webinars, we get people from all over the country. So whatever time it is there, we have a beautiful sunny morning here in the Minneapolis area, but hopefully it's a nice day where you are as well. Welcome. People are rolling in. Hope you have your coffee handy this morning and get caffeinated for a great session and great presentations. I'll get started here, but people will continue to be rolling in here shortly. My name is 𝘾𝙡𝙖𝙞𝙢. I lead Minnesota Crossroads Career Network, and we have a number of different things we do to help job seekers through a difficult challenge in their lives, with great tactical help in their job search, and hopefully with some hope and encouragement in the process as well, because you probably have figured out by now this can be an emotional roller coaster, right? And so our hope with Crossroads is to provide the best help and resources for your job search as we can, while pointing to the encouragement and hope of Jesus Christ too. We'll have a video this morning, and we have Lori Anderson that you came to hear, and I'm really excited to have her speak this morning. She does a tremendous job, but has great insight as you're thinking about what is the next thing I'm going to do and where I'm going to work and what's that going to look like. And she is going to provide a lot of guidance for you on that. Many frustrations in our lives, especially in a job search, are when we don't get what we think we want. Sometimes it's even something we may have been praying for, like a specific job, and it doesn't come through. What I often forget, though, is that God knows things that I don't know, that he can see around corners that I can't see. As an example, say I'm walking down the street and come to an intersection, and the light turns green in my direction, so I step off the curb to cross the street. In stepping down, I trip and fall. I'm upset and frustrated because I never trip like that, and it's humiliating there on the street. However, what I didn't know was that a speeding car was coming that ran through the red light. Had I stepped out further into the street, I would have been hit. Was that fall a bad thing or a good thing? And I think there's a lot of times in our lives that the same kind of thing happens, that we view it as bad in the moment. We don't know what the greater purpose may have been. The Bible says, delight yourselves in the Lord, that he will give you the desires of your heart. The best way to think of that passage is that when you trust him and you're with your life and are committed to following him, he'll change the desires of your heart to be more in alignment with him. He wants the best for us. So sometimes when we don't get something we think is good for us, like a particular job, he may be protecting us from something we don't know or can't see, or he may be saving us for something that is better. We can be thankful for that. Let me open up in a word of prayer, and we'll jump into the rest of the content for the morning. Lord, I just thank you that we can come together this way, even if it's virtually, but we pray that you use this time for your purposes, and that everyone is encouraged today, gets information that is helpful and productive in their job search, and that you guide them and give them wisdom in their current circumstances. Father, we know that you do want to bring the best together for us in your ways, and we just trust you for that. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. With that, I have a short video. Let me share my screen here and get it set up. Many of you probably know who Kathy Ireland is. Well, there's some things about her that you may not be familiar with, and I hope this, let me set this up here. I hope this is encouraging for you. Here you go.
My room was at the end of a really long, dark hallway, and I later learned from other girls who stayed there before me that they referred to that room as the dungeon. And it was in that dungeon that my life would be forever changed. I don't remember a time that I didn't believe in God. Just always knew that he was there, but I didn't know him, and I didn't know that I didn't know him. As a kid, I would pray at times, but it was about me. It was when I needed something. But there was a part of me that was kind of scared of God. The church that I attended as a child, the leader there would kind of yell, and I didn't feel his love there. It kind of imposed what this man was doing on what God was all about. When I was a teenager, my mom got saved. And Mom was really quiet about her faith in the beginning. But I was noticing this transformation in her, and I liked what I saw. I went off to Paris to start modeling, and it sounds so much more glamorous than it was. I was 18 years old, and I was traveling alone. I was staying in a home where I didn't feel comfortable, to the extent that any time I spent in that home, I would basically lock myself in my room. And I later learned from other girls who stayed there before me that they referred to that room as the dungeon. It was the middle of the night, and I had jet lag, and unbeknownst to me, Mom had slipped a Bible in my suitcase. I'd never read a Bible in my life. And it was out of jet lag and boredom and loneliness that I picked it up, and I randomly opened up to the Gospel of Matthew. And as I read, my life was forever changed. I was a rebellious teenager. I was questioning authority. Who really knows the truth? Who really knows what's right and what's wrong? Who's to say? And I knew that what I was holding in my hands was the truth. I think one of the things that grabbed a hold of me was that Jesus wasn't anything like I thought. He wasn't condemning. He wasn't yelling. He was loving, and he was leading. And particularly as a young woman out in the world for the first time, in a world that oftentimes felt dominated by men of questionable character, it gave me such comfort to know that Jesus loves women and honors them. And Jesus Christ became my Lord, my Savior, my best friend. But I regret that I remained such a baby Christian for so long. I would continue to read the Word, but I would just read the same passages over and over. And there were other verses I would come across that I thought, surely it must be a typo, or it doesn't pertain to me, or some justification. And I believed the lie that it was too complicated, or that I didn't need it. Yeah, if you asked me, I was a Christian. He was in my life. I loved him. I had him. But I was trying to mold God into what I wanted him to be, rather than allowing him to mold me into the person he made me to be. One of my sins is the sin of self-reliance, being a control freak. And I think probably one of the most difficult things was giving up that control to God. I was at a women's retreat years ago. And as I was praying, I felt the Lord speak to me. He said, "You say I'm your first priority, but I'm not." I would say that my faith came first, and then my family, but I was putting our kids in first position. And anything that comes before God is an idol, even if it's something good. And I said, "But Lord, you know what I'm going through. With 3 kids, different ages, different needs, the business, I just felt so pulled in every direction." And I just said, I don't know how. And he said, "Trust me in this. Put me first, and I'll give you more time with your kids. I'll give you better time with your kids. And he is so faithful. He's just so faithful. For me, I just started getting up earlier and spending time with him, and it would start out gradually, and then, now I can't get enough. And he's our perfect father. He made us, he knows us. And by putting him first, it's incredible how he equips us and gives us exactly what we need. When people ask me, what are your goals? My goal in life is to grow closer to Jesus each day, to follow his lead for me, to stay on his path, to be obedient, and it's just day by day. My name is Kathy Ireland, and I'm second.
I think an awful lot of people know who Kathy Ireland is as a supermodel. Most don't know what was behind the face on the front of magazines and everything else. And obviously that she matured in her faith over time, but it became the guiding principle in her life. And I just encourage you to think about that for your own life, as she made a comment of that when we trust him, he makes other things better too. That doesn't mean problems go away or that we never have challenges in our life. You might still have to be looking for a job, but he walks with us through whatever challenges we face. With that, I'm really glad to be able to introduce Laurie Anderson. Laurie has spoken for our Crossroads presentations a few different times in the past, and it's always been terrific, and I'm really glad to have her join us again here today. She is joining us obviously on screen, but she's spoken in person at some of our events too. But Laurie has been head of HR for multiple companies in the past and currently works with a number of companies in consulting and fractional roles, and helps them improve their hiring and all the other aspects of HR involved. But she knows what the process is like and what people go through in a search, and she's been there and done that herself. And so actually has quite a bit of insight in terms of how you can be thinking about your next move in your career. And so, Laurie, I'll turn it over to you. Really glad to have you this morning.
Thank you, Harry. I am so pleased to be here. And it's always a hard act to follow those videos that you show. I will tell you a little bit more about me in a bit, but I'm going to put up my first slide here, and then I want to spend a moment just getting centered. So I invite you to do a little breathing exercise with me. So we're going to take 3 really big, deep breaths. Okay. And with the first breath, breathe in. As you breathe out, I want you to empty your lungs completely. Push all that stale air out and pull your stomach back to your spine. Now, with your second breath, I want you to focus on really filling up your rib cage. Let it push your elbows out to the side. And then when you let it out, again, push all the stale air out. On your third breath, I want you to fill your belly. Let it get nice and big. And again, as you breathe out, push out all the stale air, empty it completely. And now let's just breathe normally, softly for 30 seconds. I'll count. Feel free to close your eyes if that helps you with this. All right. Thank you. I love doing that and just making sure that we can all be present, checking in with your body and just being here, because it's about presence, isn't it? I'm going to start the presentation today with an old story. You may have heard this or heard something very like it. I think every culture in history has had something similar. This is a story about an eagle who, through some bizarre accident of fate, grew up with the chickens. Right? There was no reason for her not to believe she was a chicken. The other chickens certainly believed she was one of them, if a bit odd looking. And so she learned to live as a chicken lives. All she really needed to do was keep her head down and keep pecking at the ground. And if she spent all day at it, she would find enough seeds and bugs and other edible tidbits to survive. She focused on being the best chicken she could be, and she became very successful at it. She never went hungry. She was safe in the chicken coop, and she had friends among the other chickens. In fact, because she had become so good at being a chicken and because she was bigger than all the other chickens, she had the esteem of her colleagues. Life seemed about as good as it could be. Then one day she heard something that made her look up into the sky. Far, far above, she could just make out a silhouette against the sun in the shape of a soaring eagle. At the sight, something big shifted inside her. Suddenly, she felt the sensation of what it would be like to ride on the wind. She had a vision of what the world might look like from way up there instead of from a foot above the ground. Along with these sensations came a sudden, deep yearning. She didn't understand it. She didn't begin to know how to fulfill it. But it was one of those moments in life there's no going back from. She would never be the same again. Well, I want you to take a moment here and put yourself into this story. In your imagination, you are the eagle, am I right? Nobody imagines themselves as the chickens. So think about that and tell me, what does your chicken coop look like? And how's it keeping you in? Who are the chickens around you? I'm going to turn off this slide share for a moment. You are in the right place today. If you've ever looked up and felt your heart soar with what you saw up there in the stratosphere, if you've ever felt a deep yearning for something more, you're in the right place if you know you're an eagle and you're tired of acting like the chickens all around you. You're in the right place if you're ready to take control of the rest of your career and your life. As Harry said, as you know, I'm Lori Anderson. I'm passionate about improving the human experience in the world of work. In my 30-plus year career as an HR executive, I saw countless people struggle to survive, much less thrive in corporate environments. And I made a study of what the thrivers had in common. Now, in my consulting and coaching business, I get to help individuals create their own environment within the world of work where they can truly thrive, loving what they do and contributing to their maximum potential. Early in my career, a young HR person, I had to do my very first layoff. And I'd been loving this career, but at that moment, oh my gosh, I was devastated. I was miserable. I was going through all the feels. If any of you have been in HR, let me tell you, HR guilt is real. Until I started to see a consistent pattern emerge among these people who I knew really well. For every person who decided this could be a good thing for them, they ended up better off in some really significant way. Could have been more pay, closer to home, something they'd always wanted to try doing. Every person who didn't make that decision ended up worse off. And there was no one in the middle. It was the moment I started to become fascinated with the thrivers. I wanted to know how I could be more like that and how I could teach others what it takes to be a thriver. All of those people in that layoff, there were about 80 of them. And as I said, I knew them all really well. They were all chickens until the chicken coop crashed down around them, right? Some of them figured out how to soar. Today, I want to tell you some of what I learned from them. And these are exactly the things that can help you not just survive in a turbulent world, but thrive like the thrivers. I have two voices in my head. There's an eagle voice for sure, saying things like, Lori, you can soar. You've got this. And then there's a chicken voice that says things like, you're not good enough. That'll never work. Who do you think you are? Tell me if those two voices live in your head too. Just pop a yes or two voices in the chat for me. Wake up and participate here. Let's see you. Yeah. Tell you what, those people I helped lay off thought they were chickens and the chicken coop was their comfort zone. The walls of the chicken coop came crashing down around them. They were pitched headlong into a bigger, scarier world. And some of them looked up, got inspired, and found a way to soar. They have the same two voices in their heads. They just learned to listen to the eagle voice more often. And you can do that too. I know you can find your wings and soar. I know you can spend the rest of your career on fire every day, doing work you love, using your best gifts to make a difference in the world, right? Getting paid what you're worth to do it. In my coaching work, that's what we really focus on most. So today I'm going to be sharing 3 of the most important strategies I've learned from the thrivers so you can become one too, because I know you are an eagle. All right, I'm going to have you do a little exercise and I'm going to put up a slide while we do this. Okay, you can close your eyes if you want to, or you can take a look at the right slide up here. You can take a look at this slide if that helps you focus. I want you to take another deep breath and squeeze it out. And then just breathe normally, softly. And I want you to visualize your future life. You've landed the perfect job for you. And now it's Monday morning. You get to go do work that uses your best gifts every day, the things you're good at and love to do. Maybe the skills you've spent your whole career honing. You absolutely know in this job that you matter and your work makes a difference. You know Monday morning, you know you're going to feel appreciated today and every day for the value you bring to the organization, to your team, to your clients, to your patients, your students, whoever benefits from your work. You know you're finally being paid what you're really worth. And you know you have as much flexibility as you need to take care of the other important things in your life. Are you there? Okay, now focus for a moment on how you're feeling. How does it feel to wake up on Monday morning knowing you get to go do this job? How much difference is your fulfillment making in your life? Right? Is it impacting your family members? Think about them. How different is life for them since you made this big change and became a happier, more fulfilled person? All right, open your eyes. You've just experienced what it feels like to be a thriver. What did that feel like to you? Pop that in the chat for me. I have to find the chat again. It keeps moving around, right? There we go. Thanks, Kirsten. Empowering, energizing. Awesome. Yes. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Thanks. Appreciate it. Oh, beautiful. Free. Peaceful. Wonderful. That is the future we are going for you. And it is absolutely within the possibilities as you move forward. All right. So let me tell you about these 3 simple, powerful strategies the thrivers use. There are so many things, but I've chosen 3 that are the simplest to teach in a short amount of time and really powerful. And I'm going to share first what they all are. And then we're going to do a deeper dive into each one because they are simple, but they're not easy. So I've got some tips to help you through the hurdles that come with each one of them. So here's what sets the thrivers apart. They know what they want. They bounce forward from every setback and challenge, and they take consistent, inspired action. In other words, they have a clearly defined purpose. They're extraordinarily resilient, and they take the risks that come with every step outside their comfort zone. So we're going to start by diving into they know what they want. I'm a fan of Marcus Buckingham, and you might be familiar with his early work. He worked with the Gallup organization on strengths finders. In his latest work, he's been focused on what makes each unique individual human really happy in their work. He talks about the fact that beginning from our earliest days as a student and stretching on into our working years, all of our development energy and attention is focused for us basically on improving our weaknesses. We don't learn how to identify the things we're uniquely good at and that we really love to do. When both conditions are present, that's what Buckingham calls your red threads. His analogy is that you're weaving a tapestry as you work and pulling on many different colors of thread as you do so. Those things you're both good at and love to do are your red threads. Research conducted right here in Minnesota at the Mayo Clinic has shown that when your tapestry is just 20% red threads, you'll never burn out. That surprised me. I don't know about you, but here's the thing. Most of us can exercise some control in the work we do to get it to the point where the red threads are 20%. But most of us don't know what our own red threads are. That is step 1 in knowing what you want. It's knowing what your red threads are. People who know what they want are also very in touch with their values. They don't just have their list of values honed in. In fact, they're relentless about making sure their life reflects those values in every way. So we're talking about how they spend their time, the physical things they surround themselves with, of course, how they spend their money, and most importantly, what they say no to. So there's always room to say yes to the things that are a fit. Right? So I've got 2 ways here. Know what your red threads are. Know what your values are. Really zero in on those. Finally, the thrivers have figured out the most powerful brain hack we know of. The human brain, the default in how we're wired, its default is to interpret everything in the most negative way possible. Our most primal response mechanisms, fight, flight, freeze, right, live in the part of the brain that evolved earliest And it has an important purpose to keep us safe. So that means that the negative reaction is instinctual and it's running in the background every moment of your life. This is that voice saying, you're a chicken, stay in the coop, right? It takes almost no energy from your other thoughts and activities. So most of the time, you're not even aware of it. Your prefrontal cortex, that's the part of this graphic that's lighted up. That evolved much later in human existence, and it's where all of our executive functions live. So rational and abstract thinking, analysis, planning, decision-making, emotional regulation, many of the things we most strongly associate with being human. But using the prefrontal cortex takes conscious intention and a massive amount of energy. This is why your best intentions to stay positive and upbeat get hijacked the instant you feel like you've been treated unfairly or you feel like an outsider with the group that you're with. Whenever you face any of the threats that are common in the human experience of present day, it's why that voice saying you're an eagle is so easily drowned out. Because we have that natural tendency toward the negative, the only way to avert our brains away from it for any extended period of time is by holding a positive image that's much stronger than the negatives. The thrivers have figured that out and created a compelling vision for themselves. A compelling vision is concise so that it's easy to remember in just a few words. It's something that moves you emotionally. So the instant you think of it, you're drawn to it. And it is so powerful. It can pop you out of bed in the morning and silence that chicken in your head who loves to tell you it's too dangerous or it'll never work, or any number of other negative statements designed to keep you safely in your comfort zone. So there are 3 really powerful ways to get in touch with what you really want. That was the first strategy. Know what you want. The second strategy we're going to talk about is that thrivers bounce forward from every setback and challenge. Now, you have probably heard of resilience as bouncing back, but bouncing forward is the way I think of resilience, because so often when life throws a curveball at you, there's no back to bounce to, right? As someone in career transition, I'm sure you can relate to that. What you need to be resilient is to be able to bounce forward to something better, right? The thrivers are extraordinarily resilient. Some of them are naturally wired that way, but resilience is very much like a muscle that you can strengthen with exercise, which means all of us can get stronger. Now, there are so many ways to strengthen your resilience, and I use a lot of them as I work with my coaching clients, but I'm going to talk to you about just 2 of the most powerful. You didn't get this far in your life without running into some adversity before you ended up in job transition here. So what I want you to do is take a moment to think about a difficult time in your life. We're talking about something in the past, not where you presently are, because I want it to be something that you managed to get through, right? So as you think about that, go back there in your mind. When things looked their most bleak, what got you through it? If you're comfortable, share a few words about that in the chat, because we can always learn from each other. And I always learn from my listeners when I'm talking about this. So tell us, what worked for you? What got you through the toughest times in your life? God's Word, prayer, support group, absolutely. Faith and support network often come up. What else? family, desire to improve myself and grow, God's care and work, focusing on self-care. Beautiful. Yeah. Sometimes I hear people say, oh my gosh, thank you, Brittany. Sometimes I hear people say a gratitude practice, developing some habits around daily finding humor and laughter, random acts of kindness, learning and curiosity, right? Connection, which can be your support network, but it can also be volunteering or, like I said, those random acts of kindness. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for sharing. So I have another question for you. When we talk about resilience, how many of you immediately have an image of someone you know pop into your head? Who in your life have you seen demonstrate amazing resilience? And if you're willing, share who that was. Who in your life? Yeah, my brother. Thanks, Julie. Who else? Daughter. Who do you know who has shown the ability to bounce forward with amazing resilience? My mother? That's actually the most common answer that I hear, Sheila. Yeah. Everyone knows someone that they really admire for their resilience, right? So my point here is that you already know a lot about how to be resilient. First, you know what's worked for you in the past. And second, you know some very inspiring role models that you've had in your life, right? The trick is when you end up in a situation where you need your resilience to remember what you know and to remember it quickly, right? With practice, you can get quicker and quicker at shifting into that bounce forward mode, into your best resilience. Okay, the second trick for bouncing forward is going to take us right back to that discussion we were having about the brain and its default of interpreting everything negatively. So here's another aspect of that tendency. Your brain makes up stories to explain everything. And guess what? Those stories are automatically negative. Resilient thrivers know they can't believe everything they think. I'm going to tell you a story this is from my personal life. When I was a young bride, eons ago, this is pre-cell phones, so it's important to keep that in mind as you hear this story. My new husband, Jim, had a side gig that he was passionate about. He's a dairy farmer. Go figure, his passion was reffing football games. And he reffed for decades, high school, first starting with junior varsity, but then high school and college and on and on. So the first fall that we were married, he's doing high school games. And my assumption, like a true newlywed, I don't know, that's my only excuse for my behavior, was that I should wait up for him on game night. Right now, Jim is an off the scale extrovert, and I always knew that about him. But what I know now that I didn't know then was that if you ask him to estimate how long it's going to take him to do something, you have to double or even triple what he tells you if there's any chance he'll run into someone he can visit with. So that first Friday night, I asked dear Jim what time he expected to be home. And he thought about, how far away the game was, how long it was, how long it would last, what they needed to do afterwards, yada, yada. He said, I should be home by 11 o'clock. You can see where this is going, right? Of course, 11 o'clock came and went, and there was no sign of Jim. Midnight came and went, and there was no sign of Jim. 1 o'clock came and went, and there was still no sign of Jim. First, I was just annoyed. I'm a morning person, so this is way past my bedtime as I'm waiting up here, right? But of course, before you know it, I started coming up with possible explanations for his absence. And soon I was awfulizing. You've been there, right? I'm imagining his broken, bleeding body lying on a highway somewhere after a horrible accident, or pinned inside a grisly wreck, or the list of gruesome possibilities just goes on from there. The stress was building up in my body and I was getting really rattled. And still, he wasn't home. Tell me if you've ever been there. That's ever been you. Type worry or stress or awfulizing in the chat for me. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. You guys know what I'm talking about here. All right. Finally, something kicked my rational mind into gear, and I had the sense to ask myself, remember, no cell phones. If he is dead somewhere, clearly there's nothing I can do about it right now. So how will this play out? And here's the conversation I had with myself. It'll probably be mid-morning before someone gets around to notifying me. What good will I be if I sit here awake and steeping in this stress from now until mid-morning? I'll be in a lot better shape to deal with awful news if I get some sleep before then. I guess if he's dead, I'll find out in the morning. The stress was gone, just poof. I went to bed and fell sound asleep, and Jim eventually showed up safe and sound and pleased with life sometime in the wee hours. And I never waited up for him again. That automatic story, that awfulizing, wasn't serving me well. And here's the thing, even if it had been true, I intentionally chose to believe a different story, and it had a huge impact on my life. I mean, I'm still married to the guy. I can't begin to count the hours I would have spent awfulizing by now. And as I said, he reffed for decades, and he's still an extrovert, taking 2 or 3 times as long as he says he's going to whenever he goes somewhere. All right, so that was step 2 in bouncing forward. Let me get back to my screen share. Step 2 in bouncing forward. Don't believe everything you think. Question your stories and create new positive ones that will serve you better, right? Okay, so that was the second strategy, bouncing forward. The third and most important thing that sets thrivers apart is they take action. So remember the chickens, right? All those people I had to lay off early in my career. As inspired as I was by the people in that group who found a way to make their future better despite the circumstances, here and there throughout my career and now in my coaching, I've run into someone even more inspiring. The failure of the chicken coop is an unplanned disruption that jolts people into a new perspective. It might come into your life by any number of crises, and job loss obviously is one thing that can destroy it. For some people, it's a big health scare. It could be a major upheaval like a pandemic, or it could be some other kind of significant loss, losing a loved one, losing a home, right? Unplanned disruption happens to all of us at some point in our life. And it's actually relatively easy to make positive changes when you have to change anyway. When the chicken coop crashes down around you, you have a unique break in your perspective, right? That can allow you to see all kinds of new possibilities for yourself. And since there's fear, no matter what you do next, why not choose the bold route? The goal is to react to unplanned disruption resiliently. Psychological studies tell us about 1 in 3 people is naturally resilient, and 2/3 of us have to work harder at it. But what I learned by watching people throughout my career is that there are people who go a step further. There are people who plan for disruption. So when the chicken coop disappears, they already know what they'll do next. In my experience, I think we're talking about no more than one person in 20. Right? If they're laid off, right? If they're in transition, they might or might not land quickly, but they know what they want. They're obviously resilient, and because they have a plan, it's easier for them to stay confident, positive, and focused on that outcome, eventually landing exactly where they want to be. I think of my friend, I'll call her Kathy. She had a big corporate job that ended after a major ownership change at the company. And she could see that coming. She made a big, brave plan for what she would do next. She stepped way out of her comfort zone and started a nonprofit for a cause that moves her. And when I talked to her after she did that, she told me she couldn't believe how lucky she was to be doing the work that she was doing. There are some rare people who go further yet. They create disruption. They step out of the chicken coop of their comfort zone in order to pursue their own best plan. And from my lifetime of observation, I think we're talking about no more than one person out of 100. Maybe you know someone who just quit their job, seemingly out of the blue, to pursue what they wanted. Some people do just leap like that. Others lay the groundwork ahead of time. They work hard on their dream pursuit outside of their normal work week. So when they step away from the regular paycheck, they already have their safety net built. I think of my former coworker, I'll call Nathan. He had a C-level role in our company with a big salary and perks. And one day he just walked away from it all to start his own thing. Turns out he'd been building it all along, despite working long hours in the corporate job. Today, he's thriving and doing exactly what he wants to do every day. So, what makes it easier for some people to do that? What makes a person the 1 in 20 who plan for disruption, or the 1 in 100 who create it? We've come full circle here. They know what they want. This is the most important thing to have if you're ever going to take the actions that will get you what you want. If you don't do the hard work to really know what you want, you will always be struggling to find the motivation to keep moving toward your goal, the motivation to step outside your comfort zone. It is hard work, and it's work that no one else can do for you, right? This is not like when your mom would make your bed for you when you were a kid, if you didn't get around to it, or the team project, where if you didn't quite fulfill all of your assignments, someone else who cared deeply about the grade would step up and fill in the void, right? This is work you have to do yourself. You have to parent yourself. And it's a great reason to get a coach, by the way. A lot of the coaching work I do is around helping people do this work for themselves. So this is so important. I want to revisit some of those ways that we just talked about for you to know what you want, right? Here are the 3 things that we talked about, starting with red threads. Remember, those are the things that you're both, the overlap between what you're really good at and what you really love to do. Really getting a handle on that. Second is really zeroing in on your values. I mentioned these help you decide what to say no to, so you have the capacity to say yes to the right things. They will also help you zero in on discrepancies. By recognizing when something in your life isn't aligned with your strongly held values, that creates cognitive dissonance and gives you motivation to change it. And knowing your values, your deep, strongly held values, can also guide you in refining how you define yourself and the labels you use in your self-talk. So, for example, maybe you've always admired people who are especially courageous, so much so that courage is one of your strongly held values. Relabel yourself as a courageous person in your own mind. Defining yourself in that way will drive you to start behaving in ways that better match that value. right? Okay, and the last one was compelling vision. What a compelling vision does is puts your brain in an aspirational state where it's focused on the positive outcome rather than approaching it as a problem to be solved, because our brains automatically perceive problems as threats. And that sets off the chicken voice, right? So having a compelling vision silences those negative voices for you, helps you visualize that success, and it opens you to new ideas and learning, which is what growth mindset is about, right? Now, remember what I said makes a compelling vision, right? It is concise, just a few words. It's emotional and it's powerful, so that just pulling it to mind moves you forward, right? It's work to create this. We're talking about a slogan-sized statement. What would you put on a t-shirt or a billboard, right? Do that work and then put it somewhere where you'll be reminded of it multiple times a day. The post-it on the bathroom mirror, the screensaver on your laptop or on your phone, somewhere where you can't miss it. And it can really pull you forward. All right, so that is the first trick to taking action, knowing what you want, and it is the biggest key. I want to give you a few more hacks the Thrivers know about taking action. So play along with me here, please. I would like you to stand up for a moment. And when you do that, I want you to slump your shoulders and hang your head and put a serious expression on your face, maybe even frown a little. And I want you to hold it for 10 seconds, and I'll count while we do that. All right, now I want you to stand as if you just landed that dream job you visualized earlier. Stand erect with your shoulders back, your head held high, a smile on your face, and hold that for 10 seconds. All right, thanks for playing along with me. You can sit back down. Tell me in the chat what that felt like, and especially how did those two postures differ for you? How did you feel while you were standing slumped and frowning? And how did you feel when you were standing, shoulders back, head high, smiling? Confident. Yes, thanks, Kirsten. Godfidence. I love that. Second sense is empowering. Yeah. Our bodies have so much wisdom, and the Thrivers understand that about themselves. They have figured that out and have figured out how to use their physiology to help them. They take action before they're ready, right? They start doing without stopping to overthink it, without thinking about whether they're actually ready to take action. Because once your body is in motion, your brain will follow, and action eliminates fear. Inaction does the opposite. It allows fear to grow, right? So to stay out of that fearful place, just keep moving forward. Keep taking action. Listen to what your body knows. Okay, so that was the second tip on taking action. The third is about people. Thrivers pay attention to the people they surround themselves with. So maybe you've heard the quote, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? There's some debate these days about whether that's scientifically accurate, but the point is, the people you spend the most time with shape who you are. They determine what conversations dominate your attention. They affect which attitudes and behaviors you're regularly exposed to. Eventually, you start to think like they think and behave like they behave. In other words, if you're surrounded by chickens, they will have you convinced that you are a chicken. Research has shown that the people you habitually associate with determine as much as 95% of your success or failure in life. If you have a spouse or a child who's a negative influence on you, I am not suggesting you remove them from your life. But we all know people who make us better. What I am suggesting is that you find a way to spend more of your time with those people, right? So take a moment right now to jot down some names. Who can you include in your life more? Who is supportive and positive for you? Who do you know who's willing to hold up a mirror to you with honest feedback when you need it? Who can you spend more time with who is always able to help you when you get stuck? And who can you include in your life more who inspires you to be your best self? Sheila, the 95% was that research shows the people you habitually associate with determine as much as 95% of your success or failure in life. Yes, we become the people we hang around. Absolutely. So I hope you've all got some names. Yeah. Step 3, taking action is paying attention to the people you surround yourself with. So here's the one slide overview of everything we've talked about today. And I know it's a lot. This is what sets the thrivers apart from the rest of the crowd, knowing what they want, bouncing forward from every setback and challenge, and taking consistent, inspired action. And the tips I gave you for each one of these are up here as well. So I have a question for you now. Are you going to let the future happen to you, or are you going to claim it? What ending are you going to choose for the story about the eagle and the chickens? Which of those two voices in your head are you going to listen to? I think I said it before. I'll say it again. I know without a doubt that each one of you is an eagle. I know you can ignore the limitations of your chicken coop comfort zone and find your own way to soar. I know you can spend every day you work for the rest of your career on fire to use your best gifts, making a meaningful contribution to the world, and getting paid what you're worth to do it. So before we wrap up, and I'm early here, so I will have time for questions and discussion if you want to do that, but I want you to write down for yourself one thing you're going to do today to ensure you live the eagle's life you were born to live. I hope I gave you some ideas about what you can do in the 15 minutes after we get done with this meeting, right? Okay. Questions? I'm going to stop my share so we can do that.
That was great. Please do enter questions, people, into or comments that you'd like to share with Lori. I want to hear more of that. Lori, as you're talking, I keep thinking of that quote. I'm not sure who it's from, but we've all heard it, I'm sure. But life is 10% of what happens to us and 90% of how we choose to react. And I think so many times people think that their success or failure or happiness or misery is because of what happens to them. But everybody's got tough stuff in their life. It's how we view that and how we react to it. It's very
Yeah,
much what
absolutely.
you're describing here as well.
I do have one more slide with my contact information that I'll pop up before we're done. The author I mentioned at the beginning was Marcus Buckingham, and his books that talk about the red threads are, he first talked about it in 9 Lies About Work. And then he shifted and really focused on it in his next book, which is called Love and Work. Both of them are really awesome audiobooks, by the way. He's a Brit. He's really fun to listen to. And the first book, 9 Lies, he co-wrote with another author who's also a Brit. So they're fun. Recommendations for finding red threads. If you've been in the work world for a while, what you've got the experiences, reflect back on when were those moments. Your red threads are the things that when you're doing them, time just melts away, right? You might have had to learn a step-by-step process when you were first learning it, or maybe it came naturally, but you don't have to think about that process now for sure. It just comes to you. So reflect on the work that you've done. When are the times that you were working and time just disappeared, right? And you just were so into it. Or the days that you went home going, damn, that was a good day, right? What happened? Think about those things and really try to capture what was it about that really turned you on and that you can count on each time you work on it, right? Each time you do that kind of work, that's the kind of experience that you're going to have. I think about red threads too as if you are familiar with the Ikigai diagram, it's a Venn diagram. It has 4 bubbles, and it's what I'm good at, what I love to do, what the world needs, and what the world will pay me for. And that sweet spot right in the middle is all of it. The figuring out your red threads or your superpowers is the intersection between those 2 bubbles that are about you, right? What I'm really good at and what I love to do. Process to create a compelling vision. Oh my gosh. That is a really deep question, and everybody kind of comes at it differently. So I use a lot of different tools as I'm working with people to do that. The main thing is just to take the time to reflect on it, right? Know what your superpowers are, know what your values are. Those will definitely help you create it. Typically, faith comes in there. There's an aspect of purpose, right? Why am I here? In order for it to be really compelling, in order for it to be something that's emotionally powerful for you. And the trickiest part is making it something short and concise so you can remember it in just a few words, right? The t-shirt, the billboard. The books were 9 Lies About Work and Love and Work. Marcus Buckingham. Any other questions that I'm missing, Harry?
I think we're covering them all.
Let me pop up my contact information. So my company is called HX Coaching and Consulting, and the HX is for human experience. I know you can't read the little type there probably. It's all about a better human experience at work. So there's my email address. If you have questions about this that you think of later, if you want to get any of the resources that I've mentioned, I have a weekly career tips email that I'd love to have you subscribe to if you want to hear from me every week. You can also watch me on LinkedIn, connect with me there. I love to network. So if there's a way that I can help you, I would love to do that. And each week when I do that weekly career tip, I repurpose it for social media. So you'll see a bunch of information about it on LinkedIn if you're watching. And I do a free 30-minute on fire career breakthrough session with anyone who's interested. And I just love to figure out how I can help people with all of the tools and things that I've collected over all these years of watching the thrivers and studying them, and as well as all of that HR experience, where I had a chance to really coach a lot of folks in my work, to help them reframe what they were experiencing, or otherwise work on their mindset or strategies. How do you have a hard conversation with someone? How do you ask for what you need, want, and deserve? Happy to help with all of those kinds of things. And I will stop that share again so we can see each other.
I'll mention it in a couple of minutes here, but part of what we offer with Crossroads is a 8-week class on effective job search. But part of that is kind of doing some analysis of what has been my history and what are those red threads, thinking through job by job, where have I thrived and why, and what did I do exceptionally well, and what did I struggle with, and figuring out what those red threads are in our lives. And then also defining what are the values that are important to me, and what I'm looking for in the organizations that I'm pursuing as well. And so,
there's something I didn't mention that I think is really important to this discussion, is that once you have really zeroed in on that piece, on what you're really good at, what you're really looking for, what really lights you up, your networking changes.
Yeah.
People detect, they perceive that fire in your belly, and their response changes from, yes, I'll meet with you, and I want to be nice, right, to, I really want to help this person. That was something, even, when I was in transition, and after years and years of working with people, laying off and doing all of the things, that was something I didn't know to expect when I went through that work myself and was in transition and was networking with people. So it absolutely has a tangible payback. You will notice that if you've really nailed what that is, what that spark is for you.
I find in, even the last many years when I've been doing primarily senior executive recruiting, a lot of people don't have a great deal of self-awareness. They've never really thought through those things for themselves. In many cases, people have still been successful. They've just been able to figure out how to navigate through anything, but they've never really thought about, where do I really thrive? What do I do exceptionally well, and why? And what do I want to focus on? But when someone has a great deal of self-awareness, they're a much more attractive candidate and better networker, because they can describe that with more conviction and more passion than just kind of reciting their resume.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's another tip, when you're thinking through that, what are my red threads? Ask other people, ask people who've worked with you, and those things that they say, capture their words, right? Write them down, so you can go back to that, so that when you're out there, when you're figuring out, how am I going to talk about what I do and do well and all of that, and when you're in that humble place, like, it feels like bragging if I say that, you can totally own it if someone else said it, right? It's way easier to say, I'm this, or I'm great at XYZ, if someone else already said that. So capture that stuff.
Then you're just the messenger passing it along, rather
Exactly.
than bragging about yourself, right? Absolutely.
Yes.
That's actually one of the other things we do in our classes too, is send out questionnaires to people we've worked with, asking them, what have you been good at? What do you achieve? What I found sometimes with people is, especially if they've been in a particular position for a long time, that they got very good at some aspect of their job, but it just becomes second nature to them, and they don't think of it as a strength or a real ability. It's just what I do, but somebody else marvels at it, that how do you do that so easily and so well, and you should be promoting that as a strength when it may not have
that
otherwise.
Is absolutely part of human nature, that what we value is what we see other people doing well that's hard for us.
Yeah.
If it's easy for us, it's hard to value it because it's easy, right? It feels like it ought to be easy for everyone, and that is not the truth. That's another reason why it's so important to hear from other people what you're good at and why that's valuable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Brittany, you shared a few passages from scripture in here that I think are very applicable. Appreciate that. Other comments that anyone has? Well, with that, we'll wrap up and stay tuned, people. I want to run through everything else we offer through Crossroads for you to take advantage of for your job search as well. Want to thank Lori for taking her time and offering her expertise this morning. I think it was incredibly helpful. I jotted down a couple of notes because each time I've heard her, I just get another insight into how my thinking sometimes goes sour as well. And so we want to really pay attention and be careful of that. Let me share my screen here. And I want to, as I mentioned, run through a few additional things that you can take advantage of in your job search to be able to be as effective as possible. Let me put that up. And so you may have already gone to our website to be able to register for this webinar this morning, but encourage you to peruse the rest of the website as well. We have a ton of information on there about events and opportunities for you to get plugged into ways to get help for your search. I'll talk more about this. I think the content we have for a tactical help for your job search is very, very strong. But I think equally important, just having that regular check-in with others and getting encouragement and hope and a new spring to your step each week for different things in your job search is so important. This is such a hard thing to stay positive through for anybody. And so being deliberate about building in things into your days, into your weeks in order to get new ideas and encouragement and hope, I think is critically important. So mncrossroads.com is our website. You'll find detailed information and resources and other events. But we also have a job board. There's a number of companies locally here in the Minneapolis area that know what we do, that know that great people come, and they post positions on our website for trying to attract those. And so check out what's there. There might be a position that makes sense for you, and encourage you to apply and mention to them that you found out about it through Crossroads. I do get feedback from employers that they find great people through Crossroads. And so take advantage of it and see if you can find something that fits your background there. Our cadence each month in terms of opportunities to see presentations like this, two of them are in person and one of them is a webinar that you're on right now. But the first Thursday morning of each month, we meet in person at Grace Church in Eden Prairie. And that is more of an extended meeting. We have a presentation like this. We have our networking group meets at 9 o'clock then in order to be able to share contacts and leads and ideas for specific positions. We have Brad Markwell comes in and does a Q&A on financial considerations during your job search, because there's a lot of things that go into dealing with your finances during this time too. And then we also have a micro job fair. We have anywhere from 1 to 5 or 6 companies that come in and talk about, you get a chance to meet with them to talk about positions that they have open as well. So encourage you to take advantage of that on the first Thursday morning of each month. The details are on the website. The second Thursday evening of each month, we meet at Woodbury Lutheran Church, and that's in person only as well. And we have another presentation like this then. And then the third Thursday morning of each month is our online webinar, which you're on now. And so you can take advantage of that from wherever you sit in the country, as many of you are now. All the details are always on our website. On a weekly basis, we have multiple other ways for you to get help. We have our Networking with Grace group that meets on the first Thursday in person at Grace, but then every following Thursday is a Zoom meeting, and it's a Zoom meeting where you all see each other, not just a webinar like this is, and you can share contacts and leads and ideas and get help from others. Wes Tang on our team leads that and does a fantastic job of making it encouraging, but and keeping it moving along, but also tries to make sure that everybody walks out with something each week, excuse me. So take advantage of that. You can sign up online for that. And we do we are shifting a little bit how we do the in-person meetings. So you do need to register for those online now as well. And you'll see the details on the website, how that all works. We have one-on-one coaching available. If you'd like to get a chance to talk to one of our volunteers for any aspect of your job search, whether to look at your resume or prepare for an interview or do mock interview practice, or just talk through a better networking, or just talk through your situation with somebody that gets it. You know, family and friends might be supportive, but they don't really get the challenges you're facing in this. And so getting some feedback and advice and sounding board from somebody that understands the process and what you're going through is invaluable. So you can sign up for that online. One of our volunteers will reach out to you to find a time that works best for both of you, for either a Zoom meeting or a phone call, and you can get a chance to chat through all of that. I believe that prayer is tremendously important and helpful through this time. And I'm grateful we have people on our team that love to pray for you. And so we have a prayer request page if you have something specific, and you can post it there and somebody will let you know that they've been praying for you. And then also, if you feel like, boy, this has just been a real emotional and spiritual challenge for me going through this process, and you'd like to talk to somebody on a more regular basis for a while, we have our soul care team that can help as well. So you can, again, find details on the website, send an email to request information on that, and we'll follow up. The meat and potatoes and most in-depth help we can get on a more extended basis is in our online classes. And we start a new one each month. We have an 8-week class. Some of them run a little bit shorter, some a little longer, but generally an 8-week class that covers every aspect of a successful job search. And part of it is getting into the right attitude and the right frame of mind so that you can present yourself as positively as possible and not sabotage your job search because of any baggage you're carrying or fears or bitterness. And we talk through all of that. We do some assessments and get some feedback from others in terms of the strengths you have and your personality assessments and other things to help you be able to better verbalize and articulate what makes you unique and what you bring to the table. We talk a lot about networking and targeting companies and how to do that effectively, and resumes and interviews, and negotiating and so much more. And I think as important and as good as the content is to help you make sure you know what you're doing for an effective job search, we do do a lot of encouragement. And I think having that weekly light accountability and hope and moral support from others in this process, and knowing that you're not an island, that others are going through the same thing and feeling the same things you are, can be incredibly helpful. And throughout the 8 weeks, we also talk about what's God's perspective of your job search and your career, but in your life in general. And so encourage you to check it out. We have, as I said, new classes starting monthly. There's one scheduled for July coming up. You can see the details on the website and sign up there. And really encourage you to get plugged into one of those. That's the best way you can get more ongoing help and be more confident in what you're doing to do an effective job search. And we do those through Zoom meetings, so you can be anywhere in the country to participate. And so that's one advantage there as well. Join our LinkedIn group. If you go put in MN Crossroads Career Network in the search bar in LinkedIn, you'll find us. Actually, when you put that in, you'll find two things. One is our company page, which I encourage you to follow, because the more followers we have, the more visible we become and more people become aware of Crossroads. But also you'll find our group, and you can request to join in there, and you'll find postings of things that are coming up. We have people that post job openings in there. We have people that post good advice, but we also have a great number of the alumni that have been through Crossroads that stay in the group and are just available, staying in there to be available at the companies they've landed in, to be a contact there and to be able to be a resource for you as you're looking for a new job. And so you can look through who's in the group and where are they working, and are they somebody that I might want to reach out to for some advice and insight into that organization to apply for positions there. So that's a way you can give back after you land as well. Just stay in the group and be available to others to reach out to you as well and be of help to them. And I think that's a great way to pay it forward in this process. This webinar will get posted onto our website, onto the our YouTube channel before the end of the day, and all of our webinars that we've done since the pandemic started are in there as well. So you can find a great number of topics and speakers and things that can be worthwhile for you to help in your job search. So one advantage of watching them on YouTube is you can watch them in double time or skip over me instead of listening to me every time, and other ways you can get help or see things more efficiently that way too. So check out our YouTube channel and peruse the other webinars that are in there, but this one will get posted before the end of the day today, and you'll be able to rewatch any of this as well. If you're local here in the Twin Cities, we have our next quarterly full day job search workshop. We do these once a quarter, and it is a full day on a Saturday. July 12th is the next one, and it is a lot of information in one sitting. And so it's a great way to kickstart wherever you were at in your job search, whether you're just starting or you need to kind of rejuvenate your job search after you've been in it in a while. We cover a lot of different topics. We have a number of speakers that come in throughout the day. We have breakout sessions. We have a Q&A panel of HR professionals and recruiters that you can ask any question you have in mind. It does include lunch, and you get a workbook of all the presentations from throughout the day. So there is a $20 fee on this. However, we don't want anybody to miss because of cost. So if you're in a situation where $20 feels burdensome for you, please reach out. There's information on the website, and we have scholarships available. We want you to be able to come anyway, but it's the only thing we charge for otherwise, and I encourage you to take advantage of it so that you can like I say, get a jump start or a kickstart to your job search and be able to get back up to speed and be more effective. And so that's coming up Saturday, July 12th. It is only in person locally here, but if you're here and can take advantage of it, I encourage it. We have a number of people that have done them multiple times and have found them vastly helpful each time they come. I just want to acknowledge we actually have over 40 people that volunteer for Crossroads in one way or another, and it enables us to do all the different things we offer, and I'm grateful for all of them. Nobody's getting a paycheck. Everybody just gives of their time and effort and expertise in order to help you through this process. Many of them have been through it themselves and get it, that it's challenging, and want to be able to give back in some way. And so I'm grateful for all of them, and it enables us to offer a lot of different things. If you're local here, or if you just want to watch online, I encourage you to visit one of our churches, whether it's Grace Church in Eden Prairie or Woodbury Lutheran Church, and the services stream online, or encourage you to come in person. I think the teaching and the encouragement and fellowship with others is so critically important, especially when it feels like you're an island sometimes going through a job search on your own. Our next event is in person only at Grace Church, and it's Thursday morning, July 3rd, day before the holiday. It'll feature David Mayge. He actually just spoke at our Woodbury event last week, but he's going to be coming back with a different topic on Thursday, July 3rd, and he'll be talking about impression management and how important that is in your job search, plus Zoom and what the impression you make there for virtual interviews or contacts or networking. And it's a tremendous presentation. I encourage you to take advantage of it. Very practical and gives you some things to think about that may not have occurred to you. So come and join us for that. With that, let me stop sharing. I'm glad you were able to make it this morning. I hope it was worthwhile, and join us for other events. Better yet, land a job in the next week or two, and you don't have to join us again for anything else. But really glad that you were able to come, and hope to see you again. Best wishes on your search, and have a great weekend.